The night sky over Sydney was calm, broken only by the faint sound of the waves hitting the coast. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shook the heavens, followed by a blinding light that turned darkness into a burning noon. Cell phones buzzed in every pocket, dogs barked uncontrollably, and neighbors rushed outside, their eyes fixed upward. Above them hung a massive cloud shaped unmistakably like a cross, glowing red around the edges, pulsing as if it were alive. Some people collapsed to their knees, crying. Others, trembling, lifted their phones to record the impossible sight. Was this a rare atmospheric phenomenon? Or was this the divine warning that believers have feared and hoped for all at once? "I have never seen anything like this in my entire life," said an elderly woman, her voice shaking as she pointed her phone at the skies. A younger man beside her muttered, "It felt like trumpets, but not in my ears, inside my chest." Within minutes, social media across Australia exploded. Videos, photos, and frantic messages multiplied. Hashtags spiked. Debates ignited instantly. Some shouted, "This is the hand of God." Others sneered, "It's science. Don't be fooled." But one haunting question kept echoing everywhere. Didn't Jesus warn us about this? TV stations interrupted their broadcasts. Anchors, struggling to keep composure, replayed the footage over and over. Reporters spoke with trembling voices, caught between explaining the scene and admitting their own shock. Meteorologists were called in hastily, fumbling for natural explanations. Yet their hesitation only deepened the tension. For believers, one verse rose above the noise. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, distress of nations. Luke 21:25. Was this prophecy unfolding before their very eyes? Then came the sound. Surveillance cameras across multiple Australian cities recorded it. A low metallic drone, echoing like massive trumpets from the sky. It wasn't just heard, it was felt, vibrating through walls, shaking glass, pressing into human hearts. In Melbourne, a mother recounted in tears that her young daughter had woken up screaming, "Mom, the angels are calling us to go up." That single testimony spread like wildfire, viewed millions of times within hours. It wasn't only a vision, it was an experience shared by thousands. The world began to take notice. In less than 3 hours, the hashtag Sign of God Australia trended worldwide. Believers in the Philippines claimed to have heard similar sounds days before. In South America, people uploaded clips of strange cloud formations. In Europe, flashes of unexplained light filled the skies. It felt interconnected, as if God himself was weaving a global tapestry of warnings, one nation at a time. Science scrambled to answer. Some experts spoke of atmospheric refraction, magnetic waves, or unusual auroras. Others blamed satellites, but the explanations seemed thin, brittle against the overwhelming flood of testimony. How could so many people across vast distances report identical sounds at the exact same time? How could children, too young to know prophecy, speak of angels and heaven so clearly? For Christians, the ancient words of Joel felt alive. "And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy." Joel 2:28. Churches across Australia opened their doors through the night. Thousands gathered spontaneously, singing hymns, crying out in prayer, falling on their faces. A pastor in Sydney, his voice breaking, told the cameras, "This is not merely weather. This is God calling his people to repentance before it's too late." Political leaders urged calm, warning against fake news hysteria. Yet even among them, unease was written across their faces. The nation itself seemed to stand at a crossroads, dismiss the moment as coincidence or embrace it as divine summons. The escalation continued. Hours after the luminous cross appeared, tremors shook parts of the continent. Cracks split roads. Windows shattered in random bursts. Australia, a land rarely known for earthquakes, trembled in fear. Once more, the words of Christ in Matthew 24:7 surfaced in believers' minds. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Could anyone still deny the parallel? Then came the digital collapse. Banks struggled with unexplained system outages. ATMs failed. Mobile payment apps crashed. Rumors swirled that cryptocurrency exchanges were under coordinated cyber attacks. For many Christians, this felt like a glimpse into Revelation 13, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark. Was Australia becoming the test ground for the future system of control? The convergence of heavenly signs, earthly tremors, and digital breakdowns felt almost too precise to ignore. Everywhere, people whispered, "Jesus warned us." Online, pastors and Bible teachers posted urgent videos connecting the events to prophecy. He told us to watch for the signs in the heavens. He told us to expect the shaking of the nations. Friends, this is not a drill. This is the hour of awakening. Their voices spread, amplifying the sense that the clock of eternity was ticking faster. Then came the most dramatic claim of all. In Perth, dozens of witnesses described a luminous figure appearing on a mountaintop. Some said it was an angel. Others insisted it was a man clothed in white, radiant like lightning. Videos were blurry, shaky, hard to confirm, yet the descriptions matched too closely to dismiss. Tears filled the eyes of those present. "It felt like the Bible had stepped into our reality," one witness said. Fear spread alongside faith. Supermarkets filled with panic buyers. Parents pulled children from schools. Businesses shut down. The nation was split. Skeptics mocked while others trembled. But beneath all the noise, a quiet yet piercing question settled into countless hearts. Was Australia chosen to wake up the world? As dawn broke over Australia, the world was still trembling from the night before. What had started as a local phenomenon in Sydney had become a global conversation. News outlets across Europe, Asia, and the Americas opened their broadcasts with the same footage: the glowing cross, the trumpet-like sounds, and the trembling ground. It was no longer just an Australian mystery. It was a worldwide spiritual question, and Christians everywhere felt it pressing into their souls. Could this be the very warning Jesus spoke of? Ordinary Australians described the aftermath with tears in their eyes. A fisherman from Queensland said, "I've been at sea my whole life. I know storms, I know strange skies. But this was something else. It was like creation itself was speaking." A school teacher in Adelaide admitted, "My students were terrified. Some prayed out loud in class, others just cried. I had no words to comfort them." These voices carried across the internet, reinforcing the sense that this was no accident, no optical trick. It was personal. It was spiritual. Scientists continued to speak, but their words carried little weight in the face of overwhelming public testimony. Some claimed solar flares interacting with Earth's magnetic field had caused the glow. Others spoke of tectonic shifts explaining the tremors, but none could account for the sound. The haunting, metallic trumpet blasts that matched biblical descriptions too closely. For believers, it was not just eerie, it was confirmation. Jesus had said, "And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect." Matthew 24:31. Could the trumpets of heaven have already begun to sound? Meanwhile, churches worldwide used the event as a rallying cry. In the United States, pastors referenced the Australian signs in Sunday sermons, warning congregations to be spiritually awake. In Latin America, revival meetings broke out spontaneously. In Africa, believers gathered under open skies, lifting their hands and praying, "Lord, prepare us." A wave of urgency spread, transcending borders and languages. It was as though God had shaken one nation to awaken them all. But alongside the revival came fear. Panic buying escalated. Shelves in Sydney grocery stores emptied of bread, rice, and bottled water. Pharmacies reported long lines for emergency kits. Families stocked up, whispering that worse was coming. "We're not afraid of hunger," one mother told a reporter. "We're afraid of being unprepared when God calls." The air was thick with anticipation, hope, and dread, all at once. The escalation of signs did not stop. Strange lights appeared again in the night sky, but this time over Western Australia. Witnesses described them moving in patterns, not random flickers. Some claimed the lights formed words, though none could agree on what they spelled. Others swore they saw shapes, like angels with wings stretched wide. Videos spread fast, each one stirring more debate. A Bible scholar from Sydney pointed viewers to Revelation 14:6. "Then I saw another angel flying directly overhead, with an eternal gospel to proclaim." He asked, "Are we now witnessing the prelude to this prophecy?" Then came the earth itself speaking louder. In northern Australia, rivers began to rise suddenly after unexpected storms, flooding farmland overnight. Farmers wept as they saw fields washed away. animals drowned. In the cities, flash floods trapped cars and people in streets. For some, this was disaster. For others, it was more evidence of divine shaking. One pastor said on live TV, "Just as in the days of Noah, people doubted until the flood came." Are we watching history repeat itself? Technology, too, continued its mysterious collapse. Internet outages plagued major Australian cities, paralyzing businesses and government agencies. Banks again faltered, with digital transactions failing for hours. A chilling rumor spread online that a central global system was being tested in secret, conditioning people to rely on one controlled network. Conspiracy or truth, it didn't matter. The connection to Revelation 13 was undeniable. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads. To many, it was no longer a distant prophecy. It was a preview. By now, international leaders weighed in. Some dismissed the events as mass hysteria, insisting on natural explanations. Others, surprisingly, urged caution and reflection. A European leader even quoted scripture during a press conference, shocking the world. Perhaps God is indeed speaking. That single sentence reverberated like thunder across social networks. If even politicians could not ignore the biblical parallels, how long before the rest of the world faced the truth? The climax deepened when archaeologists in Israel announced a stunning discovery. On the very same night the Australian sky lit up, a sealed cave had been opened near the Dead Sea. Inside were ancient inscriptions referencing the trumpet of the nations and the sign in the heavens. Though unconfirmed, the timing was too exact to ignore. Prophecy scholars immediately connected the dots. God was aligning heaven, earth, and history in one sweeping movement. Believers worldwide began asking, what comes next? Were these merely warnings or the beginning of the end? A pastor from Perth gave a chilling message. Brothers and sisters, we are not waiting for prophecy to start. We are living inside it. Every trumpet sound, every shaking, every digital collapse is heaven's alarm clock telling us to wake up. Fear reached its peak when reports emerged of mysterious figures appearing near remote towns in Australia. Witnesses described tall beings clothed in radiant light, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. Some cried, "Angels!" Others whispered about deception, recalling 2 Corinthians 11:14. For Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. The uncertainty only heightened the urgency. If angels and false signs were both possible, discernment was no longer optional. It was survival. As hours turned into days, the Australian signs refused to fade. Instead, they multiplied, rippling across continents. The sense of climax grew unbearable. Was God preparing his people for something immediate, or was this just the prelude to an even greater unveiling? The Bible gave the clearest answer. Matthew 24:42 rang louder than any trumpet. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. For millions, this verse became the anchor. The world could mock, governments could deny, scientists could explain away, but the call of Christ was unmistakable. The signs were speaking, and time was running short. And so the question lingers, heavier than any earthquake, brighter than any sky. What will you do with this moment? The signs are not meant to entertain, but to awaken. The trumpets are sounding. The heavens are crying out. The world is trembling under the weight of prophecy fulfilled before our eyes. Yet the choice remains deeply personal. Will you dismiss it as coincidence or receive it as God's call? Because one truth cannot be denied. Time is running out. The decision is yours, and eternity waits on how you answer now.